looks like we're going to see Titanfall 3 at the Game Awards this year. A former Larian bigwig goes indie, and then we complain about everything being too expensive for about 20 minutes.
This is Nick. Buy indie games.
Hi, I'm Josh, and I got maybe 2 or 3 GTAs left in me.
That's so true. I'm Andy. This is Video Game Tango, I guess. Well, hey, everybody.
Ooh.
Look at that. We are back.
Hello.
For a second week in a row.
I was saying, that's 2 weeks in a row. I don't want to jinx us or anything, but
we'll see you in 6. But hey, we are back. We're here to talk about some video games. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this one. It's a little game called Titanfall. Now, we've talked about this game at length previously, but there are additional rumors leading to the fact that it looks like, well, I can't say the fact, assuming Titanfall 3 is being made by Respawn Entertainment. So a couple of regular Apex Legends leakers, one of which is Yoritsuki, posted an image of a Titanfall 3 logo expressing that the secret game they previously mentioned, that's talking about EA, was in development at Respawn, is indeed Titanfall 3. Furthermore, they claim that the game is also going to be revealed at the 2025 Game Awards show in December with a 2026 release window. So it's not just speculation on the fact that there is one, but it looks like they have unsubstantiated, of course, because they're not. It's clear that this is either a secret project or not happening. That Titanfall 3 looks to be coming. So we've got a still here from a post on Twitter from Yoritsuki. And yeah, it's a Titanfall logo, but it is looking. All signs kind of point to yes. We've just seen there's been plenty to see as far as like Titanfall 3 is in the works. It's being kept a secret for now, and I imagine they're just holding their cards to their chest because a Titanfall 3 can be the revitalization that Respawn needs, the way they get away from Apex Legends, or they could just have it baking in the case that Apex kind of falls off the wagon, right? There might be plenty of reasons why we haven't heard any official announcement for Titanfall 3. So hoping that's in the works. Loved Titanfall 1. I think that was seriously top 20 game.
Favorite.
It was my favorite too, mostly because I prefer not to have a loadout system, right? I liked that you had 3 distinct different mecha that worked that had 3 distinct different functions, right? I liked that. And
classes, if you will.
Pretty much. A class versus loadout system is kind of what I prefer. That was my only preference issue that I had between the two of them. Well, that's not quite true. I think I liked the level design a little bit better in the first one. And I also liked that a lot of people complained about having so much AI on the battlefield. I think it made it feel like a living, breathing place. Like it's a legit war zone, right? Running into huge groups of robotic soldiers was intimidating, but as a pilot, you knew that you could probably take them down with little issue. However, they could turn the tide. They could be the thing that turned the tide against you in the fight with another pilot, right? And I liked that feature.
Yeah, but it was awesome.
Yeah, and I understood why some people didn't care for that, simply because they prefer just the one-on-one pilot versus pilot skill without any outside influence. But I feel like it added to a general chaos of the battlefield, which I liked. Titanfall 2, obviously, with the grappling hook and additional mechanics, those were great. It was the first time we got the wall running mechanics that we got out of Titanfall, which is now featured in a lot of games, at least on a grand scale, in a game that's sold as well as something like Titanfall. But their releases have always been kind of underwhelming compared to other releases like Titanfall 2. I think the only reason that went as poorly as it did was because Battlefield 1 and Modern Warfare Advanced Warfare came out in the same time frame.
Well, that's the thing, dude. Is we get the new version of the same Modern Warfare game every fucking year. Why can't we get a new Battlefield or excuse me, a new Titanfall? You know,
Well, it's because it didn't sell as well as the others, you know. Unfortunately, those are tried and true, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get that. I get that, but
they're money makers. And
boy,
they're the most. They're actually, I think, all of them are coming from the same publisher.
yeah, like that's what doesn't make sense to me. Is like how does the same Modern Warfare Advanced or whatever they were calling it's the same thing as Modern Warfare 3. It was the same thing as Black Ops. It's the same thing as whatever.
You get to shoot in space.
Yeah.
Josh.
You
But
have
like,
hundreds of millions of people buying it, Josh.
yeah, I know. I
That's
just
what it
don't,
boils down to.
I just don't understand
That's the
how what is something very similar but a little more in like what I'm just going to call innovative, especially for at the time, like how that doesn't capture at least some of that market. It's a very similar game doing similar things. Dropping in
Because if
multiplayer
a new
killing.
player drops into Call of Duty, they get some kills, they die. They get some kills, they die. If you're a new player, you drop in the Titanfall multiplayer, you get raffle stomped by the people who are good at the game because Titanfall has a high skill ceiling.
Yeah.
Call of Duty does not.
Yeah, but like a large part of the reason that happened is because there was only 10 new people a day trying it instead of 100. If there was a lot more new people playing the game, if they captured a larger audience, the skill ceiling would have been more varied. I know, I get what you're saying. It's a hard game to get into unless a lot of people play it.
The answer is just people didn't play it.
You know?
Yeah,
Not enough
that
people
is
played it,
exactly it.
It's just
no
crazy
big
to me that
company's going to put money
Yeah.
into something that doesn't make a lot of money.
Yeah, unfortunately, they've timed these releases really fucking poorly. Like they've been cannibalized. Like EA literally cannibalized itself twice in the same time frame.
Yeah.
Battlefield 1, Advanced, then Call of Duty Advanced Warfighter, and Titanfall came out within like a 2-month span. And yeah, they just can't. By all the same publisher, mind you, right? EA is the publisher for all of those games, releasing them all within that time frame. What a stupid fucking idea!
Yeah,
Put out 3 AAA first-person shooters at the same time. You're cannibalizing your own sales. Even like if you had just spaced them all out, all of them probably would have made more money, right? Mm-hmm. Ultimately, that's what it is. Because we were actually just talking about this earlier. Why would somebody who had been waiting all 2 years from the announcement until the release of Battlefield 1 to play Battlefield 1, why would they jump into Titanfall when they could be maining Battlefield 1? And then why would you're not going to see a whole ton of crossover?
Just consider marketing too. Battlefield 1 was on every TV, on every screen, and there was next to no marketing to the public for Titanfall.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's too bad.
Well, then it's just weird. It's like, oh, well, I mean, the game wasn't successful. You didn't market it. Like, you didn't do, like, but then they still blame the game and don't try it. Like, try to make it, I don't know.
Well, because it's never the publisher's fault.
Of course not.
Right.
Yeah. No, you're right. Sorry. I'm just over here trying to make sense of it.
Right. Yeah, you're trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. But yeah, no, I would love to see another Titanfall. I would just... Don't put it out at the same time as like GTA 6, okay? It's a bad idea. And I don't know. Titanfall games are so fucking good. I would rather play that than Battlefield or Call of Duty any day. But because for me, it feels now obviously Titanfall is iterative. It's iterating on the same platform that it created with the first one, but there's a lot fewer games out for Titanfall than there are Modern Warfare and Battlefield. It doesn't feel like a tired mechanic to me yet. So I that's what I want to see.
Hell yeah.
Ultimately. I've got a bit of a hard on for the fucking Titanfall games. Plus, I'm weirdly good at Titanfall.
Well,
I am not the best at first person shooters, but when it comes to Titanfall, I am generally in, like, sometimes I get fucking raffle stomped, right? But it's fairly rare, and usually I end up in like the higher end of the leaderboards, and even coming in rusty. So,
I believe it's by law required to have either a physical or a metaphysical hard-on when you're driving a mech. That's just
those are the rules.
That's the rules.
Those are the rules. Plus, God damn it, there are so many fucking explosions, and all of the sounds in Titanfall are so goddamn satisfying. And I don't think that games are putting enough fucking emphasis on sound anymore. I'm gonna go on a little bit of a tangent here. I think sound design is all they're doing is throwing more tech at it. Like, oh, you can better tell that a footstep is coming up from over here. Why not give us some cool, unique sounds? Something that's like super, you can identify. You can identify, if you go back to like any SNES game,
denim.
you can identify what somebody is playing just by the sounds.
Yeah.
But today you could not, and obviously there's a part of
I
it
know
is
what you
just
mean.
that
I
some
know
of the
what you
games
mean.
want to be as realistic as possible. So, but you could not from sound tell whether somebody's playing Modern Warfare or Battlefield.
Your member berries are coming out swinging right there.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But like if
Every footstep, sad rich people noises.
yes. Sorry, a little bit of I got a little ranty there, but yeah. So I am not the only person that has a little bit of news for us. Josh, please bless us.
Yes. So the former Larian Studios, one of their studio heads, Arthur Mustavvoy, has left Larian. But now he is joining up with a new little group that I'm going to talk about here in a second. They're called Aionic. Now, Mustavvoy is excited to join Aionic. Now, they are a multi-platforming group comprised of several studios that span worldwide. And again, we'll dive into them a little bit. But he's after 6 amazing years at Larian, Mustavvoy says, he can't wait to dive into this new role at Aionic as head of games. So he's going to be taking a very multi-spanning role there. Now, Mustavvoy worked on Baldur's Gate 3. He clearly knows how to make a fun and entertaining and excellent game. So
or at least knows how to work with a team.
Or at least knows how to work with a team to do it, right? So that, I mean, I feel like that is good. Now, he says, again, quote, "We are entering a golden age of indies and small teams." And that's really what this company, Aionic, represents. So Aionic is more kind of like a publisher, sort of.
I think we find out they're like a step above that, and they have publishing arms.
Yes, they're a diversified gaming group, and they have various publishing arms. So essentially, there's a couple of their game studios. For example, there's Tiny Roar. Now, this is founded by 2 people, childhood friends. There's another one called Other Side Entertainment, Red Games Co., N Dreams, BKOM Games, Milky Tea. So like lots of small and medium-sized game companies. Now, after on their official site here, there is a lot of corporate synergistic words. They use the word synergy.
Manager speak.
There's a lot of that corpo bot speak. So I'm just going to go ahead and read right from their site what sets them apart. What separates Aionic from other gaming groups is that Aionic is not a portfolio of studios, but a platform of like-minded enthusiasts to supercharge growth. So the idea is that some of these studios are going to be really good at maybe sound design, right? Or maybe another guy is a savant coder. And so these guys are going to be able to reach out with each other, and with funding from this group is what it sounds like. They're providing by having the connected people in, you're going to be able to have more access to these people and expand your team while maybe remaining autonomous, right? Because you're going to be able to get a little help from these guys because there's going to be some money from here, and it seems a little nebulous. So, and the company's fairly new, so it's kind of exciting to see some backing in like the indie and small team market, because it really is kind of a golden age for that market. I mean, think of games like Vampire Survivor. There's an entire genre of games now called Vampire Survivor likes because of that, right? I mean, Stardew Valley, right? It's one dude's passion project that has kept hundreds of thousands, millions entertained for a decade more, Now,
the sales on Stardew Valley are crazy.
So it's always it's always these. I mean, of course, there's always going to be room for Grand Theft Auto or a Red Dead 2 or Modern Warfare or what like these AAA or quadruple A games. But it's some of these games we talked about outside, Soda Drinker, that a dude made to hoping to make a little extra rent money. 40 lines of code, and it's just so it's these independent artists, these small teams that really keep the artistry in games.
And the innovation. I mean,
and some of the innovation, right? So it's really cool to see some sort of backing and grouping for help with these guys.
Yeah, there are think tanks like this, but they seem to be popping up a little bit more frequently and are often headed by seasoned gaming industry veterans that most of them seem to have a pretty altruistic goal in mind of helping these smaller studios, buffing them up, giving them access in networking and funding, right? So instead of having a giant Blizzard campus where everybody works for Activision Blizzard, we publish under Activision Blizzard, and everybody is paid by Activision Blizzard. More along the lines of you get to keep most of your independence. We may have a little bit of say into what goes into your game, but call us for help when, because they have the resources to be able to contract coders, right?
Exactly.
To bring in teams for checking for bugs, etc. So when play testing needs to happen, it's really hard to do a good play test with a team of 1 or 2, right? So getting more hands on it, that's where these businesses kind of come in handy, is in the networking side, and of course, obviously monetarily, usually they're benefactors in the production of these games.
For sure. And I just think hiring Mustavvoy is instead of someone like, say, Bobby Kotick or some other just awful person that's floating around the gaming industry all the time, hiring someone who cares that a good game is developed, and I feel like that's a step in the right direction. It speaks to what I hope is the will of this company and what they're trying to do, the values of this company, and so to speak.
We're seeing, like I said, we're seeing more and more of this happening where these industry veterans are coming in and starting to help with smaller developers. Obviously, there's a monetary incentive.
Sure,
of course, they're there to make money ultimately.
It's the next market, right? But they want to get in, and
But they are passionate about games, and they're individuals that want to see more innovation and have seen the darker side of the gaming industry, and want to get a little bit less of the corporate attitude and a little bit more of the creative side back into gaming. We were talking about Mike Morhaime popping up with Dreamhaven. He was literally second to Bobby Kotick in the hierarchy at Activision Blizzard, right? So there's potential for other intentions, but what we've seen from them so far is that they're willing to fund games and developers and studios that they believe in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, they see dollar signs.
Sure.
This has potential to be a good seller. Let's give it the resources available to us that they wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a new thing to the industry. This has been around for a little while, but at this scale, haven't seen it at this scale, and now we're seeing a lot of it. Because when you talk about Mike Morhaime, there was also Chris Metzen. Chris Metzen did kind of the same thing. He owns his own company now. He's doing active seeding towards video games and tabletop games as well. So you are seeing these industry. It's hard to, not even just veterans, it's industry legends, industry leaders. We are talking about the OG of the video game space.
But I feel like it would be fair to point out that while these guys, yes, are leaders and titans in the space, they're more of the creative aspect of it rather than the business.
For sure.
Like, I mean, of course, being at that top level, they're in the C-suite, they're business. But they got their start not to like because they loved video games.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you don't become like the head of game development.
Right.
Just for dollars. That's part of it. But,
When a lot of these studios started, it was a dangerous game to get in. Everybody was trying to jump into this market, but very few succeeded, and they became ultimately the juggernauts that we have now, right? But back then, having a good game set you far and above the others, right? Like it was based completely on quality. So it'd be nice to see that kind of practiced again in this quasi indie space, because we've got these like the OGs, the legends, the veterans coming in and seeding much smaller companies like indie studios or sometimes individuals. I think there's a little bit of hope there, but there's also a little bit of dread for me, is that like they're bringing a lot of this experience into a smaller sized industry. But what does that mean? Are we going to see that it just empowers them more to make better games, or are we going to see that we're getting the tendrils of the C-suite into indie games, right? Now, there's always going to be small indie studios that are still putting out bangers. I don't think we have to worry about that. I just worry a little bit about the influence this might have, in indie gaming. It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out.
Definitely.
So while I think it's generally a good thing to recognize these as developers and get creativity into the marketplace, it does worry me a little bit about who's doing it sometimes.
For sure. And like just to really kind of wrap up my point or my idea with this, I don't know if this is a good thing. I think it's leaning in the right directions, again, because of who they appointed as their head of games. But anytime corporatization gets into the granular level of anything I like, I'm like, ooh, I don't. It's so I'm more of just calling attention to it and like, hey, if this is interesting, please guys do a little bit deeper of a dive. I mean, we'll of course have links to both the website and the article, of course, and
links for everything we talked about.
Links of everything. Yep, in the notes. So
yeah, show. Well, we only got one more topic. It's going to be kind of a short episode. I mean, I guess it depends on how much we have to say about this next one. We're going to talk about the pricing because we addressed the pricing after the announcements of the Switch 2 and software on our last show. But we didn't talk about them as in depth as maybe they deserved.
Too high. Thanks for listening.
I mean, that's basically what it boils down to.
No, I'm not being fair.
But that's true. I mean, as much.
It's not when your games cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make.
I know
that's why they cost so much.
That's my biggest complaint here. Is I think we're spending too much money on video games and churning out what doesn't. Right. That's my problem. I understand that Marvel Rivals took X amount. Well, that's free to play, so that's a bad example. But I understand that these AAA games take a lot of fucking money. Some of them in the billions of dollars to make. We're talking thousands of people working on these for multiple years. Industry leaders in technology, purchasing the earliest technology as soon as possible, getting into the AI space, which is ultra expensive right now. And then, of course, yes, exactly as chat mentions, is the executive paychecks on top of it. It's expensive. It's an expensive game. It's the number one earning entertainment in the world is video games. And it's also the most expensive, with the exception of a few movie studios like Marvel, who have no problem spending a couple $1 billion on a movie as well. But yeah, it's incredibly expensive to make these games. I think the scale has gotten out of control. The crazy thing is we used to have yearly releases that everybody loved. And while I am not a huge fan of yearly releases, something like Assassin's Creed, where it's iterative, it's essentially the same game over and over with a sprinkle of bits on it. The quality was there, you know, and it didn't take 6 years, and it didn't take 3,000 people, and it didn't take $1 billion. And yeah, it's the future now, and things are more expensive. But the way that cost has scaled, and the way that that's being reflected to the consumer now, I think it's too much. I think it's time to take a realistic look at the consumer gaming market. It's time to take a look at the world economy at the moment and say, okay, $80 is a very substantial portion of the average person's paycheck. Maybe we need to find a way to make our games a little bit cheaper.
I mean, they're not going to do that unless it makes more money.
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem. Is like, if you're going to be talking about AAA games, the answer is always, how much money can we make?
Yeah.
And if they make more money by spending hundreds of millions of dollars and then charging $110, it sounds like.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. How much? If they can charge that much and then people buy it, then it worked.
Then there's no reason for them to bring the price down.
Why would they bring the price down?
No, 100%.
You're just losing money there.
Yeah, that's how business works.
So you're right in the original part, which is that we just need to stop spending so much money on games. People need to be okay with games that don't have individual pores on everyone's face and run at 9,000 frames a second.
Well, the wild thing is we have games that run at 9,000 frames per second and have individual pores on them from small studios now.
Yeah. Pore Simulator 2025.
Right? You have excellent tools like fucking the Unreal Engine, where the access is there, the cost is there, and small studios are starting to pump out games that look nearly the same quality of AAA games. They don't always necessarily act that way. Yeah, sure, they don't have the access to play testing beforehand that other studios do, and they also just don't have the time. I get it. They're not. I'm not saying that they're one-to-one. All I'm saying is if a studio of 11 people can get 80% of a AAA game, AAA studios, what's that?
They can.
Well, in terms of quality and fun.
We'll call it fun, sure, but that's not quantitative, right? I mean, it's subjective.
Yes. I'm just saying they can spend less, and I think make as much money.
I don't think you're wrong, but like if they're not dumb, and I'm sure they try it. You know, like there's probably the reason Titanfall 3 is coming out. Like, why make a Titanfall 3 when we can just put all that effort into the next Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Maybe we can test the waters on a game that doesn't cost $300 million to make.
Sure.
You know, but at the end of the day, like the AAA studios are just going to do what makes them the most money.
Yeah.
They're a for-profit company. The games are second to the income, right? And we cannot expect them to do anything other than just make us a ton of money.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm almost at the point where I don't consider AAA games anymore. Not that they don't qualify the technical definition, but they exist in their own world.
Yeah.
They are completely separate. I haven't paid or played a AAA game since I don't even know, Apex Legends years ago, you know?
You know, honestly, it would be cool to see what I would expect to pay like $80 for is they have excuse me, sorry. They have Call of Duty Warzone now, right? It's a free-to-play, buy the season, buy skins, yada, yada. Why the fuck am I still getting a super similar experience with Modern Warfare? Why isn't Modern Warfare being more like a boutique game and giving me a gritty, visceral, single-player experience every 3 to 5 years? You could make a better game, use less people, it would cost less money, and you would sell more copies, and you could have the evergreen Call of Duty experience season by season that you churn out. I just don't. To me, it just doesn't make sense. There's room for these things to exist, but they won't use one to bolster the other. It's just I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass here, but
no.
I wouldn't mind paying $80 for a Call of Duty game like I said, if it's going to be a more unique experience, but if it's just the same, like I can play Call of Duty Warzone free to play and throw in, if I really want to get into it, throw in $10 and get some season stuff and do the same.
I mean, the gist of it is Nick boiled it down to like as simply as possible. It's what makes them money, right?
Yeah.
And like he said, they have smart people making these money decisions, right?
No.
And the proof is in the pudding. They're making more money than they ever have in the history of gaming.
Well, I think they have scared people making the decisions because it's stable money. Like you're right. It could be it's a risk and they could lose some money on it, but they could make a whole lot fucking more. But they have like stable money.
Yeah, they have stable
it's
money.
not like I just don't want.
Listen,
the stable. I get it. It's stable money, but like no one's ever heard you gotta like spend money to make money. You gotta risk it to get the biscuit. Have these corporate?
You don't have to risk it.
So,
you don't have to risk it anymore. The studios have gotten too big. Listen, when you go to the grocery store now, there are multiple subscription things that you can join at the grocery store, where you go in and you buy individual items, food, things that are required for your life. You can buy into their subscription service, and you can even get savings. But you know what that means for Kroger is that they now know, just based on the numerical stats they have, is we have 20,000 people paying X amount of dollars per month, and that's predictable.
Yeah,
it's predictable. It's safe. And it bolsters where they may not make as much money. Like, there are going to be people that buy into this simply because it seems cost effective, but it ends up not being cost effective for them. They're not going to see $120 in savings versus their subscription service, because there are people that just buy things when there are savings. I mean, you have to look at the predatory nature of sales.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
That happens in grocery stores. You can apply those same principles to essentially anywhere. Subscription services or regular income is better than the launching of a new title, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I get it. You take the safe bet, bird in the hand, two in the bush. I get it.
Especially on your investors call. You can just tell them, this is the amount of subscribers that we have on our service. You can extrapolate from that, or they usually tell you in investors calls, this is how much money we expect to make in the month of February, right? That's on top of our normal sales, which could be less or more, but we know within margin of error how much we're going to be making this month.
Then honestly, like, just pawn some of these IPs, like what Bethesda did with Obsidian and Fallout New Vegas. That is widely, most Fallout fans' very favorite iteration of Fallout. It's their favorite IP.
Yeah.
Everyone loves to play it. And they were busy making, Bethesda was busy making Skyrim, or not Skyrim, one of the Elder Scrolls games. And they're like, here. So, I mean, if more people like do that, then like you get some, I don't know, like that's the thing. It's like, you're right. Maybe you can't risk it. So let this fledgling team build most of it for you, and then you throw a little money at it here at the end. I mean,
there's actually proof against what you're saying. Is while that worked, yes, and I'm going to give you another example of that it worked. This is not
throw KOTOR in my face.
No, this isn't.
Okay.
This isn't necessarily even a new concept. KOTOR still applies, but Ubisoft, they put out Assassin's Creed every year. Those are made by different studios under the same umbrella. So you have 3 or 4 different teams working on an Assassin's Creed game at any given time, because their development cycle is like 4 years. So if they have 4 teams, they can have one every year. So that's something that already essentially happens.
Sure.
So it's not a bad idea, but it already exists.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
Anyways, we went on kind of a tangent there.
But yeah, so like let's kind of get out of the weeds here and
let's
back
reorganize
into
here.
It. Yeah.
So we're talking about $80. If Nintendo specifically, because they just had the Switch 2 announcements,
they're breaking the seal.
They're breaking the seal, and if Nintendo does it, so can everybody else, right? And that's the fear everybody's having. $80 is a lot to play to pay for games, and we are getting back to nearly like a 1990s sales model potentially with the release of GTA 6. It is rumored and a little bit substantiated now that it may be over $100.
Yowza.
A Swedish retailer listed GTA 6 for a price equivalent to roughly $115. Now, that is Sweden. We don't know whether that includes that or not, their value-added tax or whatever. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be $115 here. But there is a little bit of evidence toward suggesting that that's possible, especially now that we have tariffs in the U.S. It's quite possible that GTA 6 is going to be more expensive than the $100 that was initially estimated.
Yeah. Now, again, as long as they don't do something super crazy, like we've discussed previously, GTA is a boutique experience.
Yeah. But I think every major publisher thinks that the game that they're putting out is also that.
It's not. Like
I know it isn't.
They can't think that.
You're right, but
they
listen,
can't think that.
We got the world's first quadruple A game, and it was not a Grand Theft Auto game, right? I think everybody thinks their shit don't stink, and they're making the best product that's ever been made. As far as the money makers go, right?
Sure,
the money
I
guys.
guess. I mean, yeah, but when they watch it, like that's the thing I don't get is like they're like, hey, we're gonna do kind of the same thing, and they're like, it crashes and burns, and it crashes and burns, and it crashes and burns, and then like so I'm gonna throw example Veilguard, the Dragon Age game. Collectively, the fan base said at least it wasn't a service game.
Yeah.
And the one thing EA said after coming out is like, well, if we do make another Dragon Age, it'll probably be a full service game. And it's like, so that's like the fans demanded. It's like, no, they didn't. It was the one thing they all praised, said thank God that it wasn't, but they don't listen to the...
They can make that argument though, Josh. Being that they have other properties that are service games that make more money than Veilguard, they can say that people demand a service game. We have proof that the live service games make more money, meaning that the next Dragon Age game needs to be a service game because the players demand it.
I am just so tired of everyone coming out and saying there is no fucking war in Ba Sing Se, and that being a tolerable fucking thing for people. It drives me up a wall.
Well, what you're tired with is people's bad spending habits, or what you would assert are bad spending habits.
I remember for every one person talking about video games, there's 1,000 people saying nothing and buying.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
We are in the minority.
You can have every website in the world saying this, that, or the other about any game, Veilguard or otherwise. It doesn't mean shit because they're less than 1% of the people who buy video games.
At the end of the day, even if the Switch 2 doesn't sell as well as the Switch did, they're making $115 more potentially. Obviously, there's cost, but they're making a potential of $115 more on every unit sold than they did with the original Switch, meaning that may subsidize the fewer sales, right? And I think that's what some of these companies are hedging their bets on. And honestly, I think in today's AAA market, the demands for better graphics, better functionality, always online features is so huge that these games they're just going to cost that, unfortunately, because we're willing to pay for it. And by we, I mean maybe not us, but they're being bought.
Excuse me, I must tinkle.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, it looks like gaming's just going to become more expensive now. We've talked about this ad nauseum. Get into indie games, straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Indie gaming, you can buy quality games for $15-$10 during sales, sometimes dollars. Within single digits.
I guess you'd need a Rogali for that, or maybe a Steam Deck,
or maybe just grandma's laptop. I mean,
Nana's laptop.
Play fucking Balatro. That shit's great.
Yeah.
It's like $10. So yeah, there are other options. The unfortunate thing is we are a vocal minority here.
Oh, sure,
I mean,
sure.
Because the next Call of Duty that comes out is going to be massive. It's going to have more sales than the one before it. People are going to buy the Nintendo the Welcome Tour for $10, even though PlayStation 5 bundled Astrobot, the Astrobot's Playroom or whatever for free with theirs. Nintendo's like, we'll charge $10 for our welcome software. Right?
It just seems so egregious, unnecessary, right? Like,
Yeah.
why would you charge $10 for people to be excited to try out your stuff?
No, in some cases it even seems like immoral. But
Yeah.
listen, they're out to make money, not to please
So-
us.
Since we're talking about pricing, has there been? Because we didn't know. We talked about it last time with Switch 2 release.
Honestly, I was just looking for a good segue for it. So yeah, appreciate it.
Is there a pathway? Is there pricing on that pathway?
There is. So we talked about last week how the upgrade packs were going to be available to upgrade your games from Switch to Switch 2 titles.
That's right.
We do have pricing for at least 2 games. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom can be upgraded for $10 each. So if you want to play your original Switch versions of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom with the new updated features that are coming out for the Switch 2, it's going to be $10.
It's not terrible.
That's the high end of what I was hoping for.
Yeah, $5 would have been more acceptable, but
$10 is fine.
Again, like we discussed, no one else is really providing at the moment a cheaper path to getting, like you said, if you have Gears of War on the 360 or whatever, if you pop it in on your Xbox Series X, you're getting the low-cal version. So no one else is providing a cheaper version.
Yeah.
It'd just be nice if...
there are definitely outliers where you bought it once, and when you upgrade to your next system, then you get better frame rate, higher resolution, etc. So there are outliers, but for the most part, it's somewhere in between.
At least they're not charging half the price of the new game.
Yeah, that was my worry, because I could have seen easily $30 for these upgrade packs, right? Nintendo seeing that it's reasonable that you only have to pay half the price of the game to upgrade it to the new system.
Exactly.
$10 is surprising.
Yeah, $10 is kind of surprising coming from Nintendo.
Like when you said I want to be like more stern about it, but because they dick thumbed me. They dick thumbed me. I thought it was going to be a dick, and I found out it was a thumb, and I'm surprisingly okay with it.
Yeah, it didn't hurt as bad as you thought, I guess.